The Galactic Council gathered in a hall so large that even the tallest species looked small inside it. The ceiling curved high above, made of clear crystal panels that showed the stars beyond. Soft light flowed through the room, changing color slowly, calming those who entered. The floor was smooth and pale, reflecting the shapes of those who walked across it. This hall was built to remind everyone of one thing: the galaxy was vast and no single world ruled it alone. Delegates from many worlds had arrived hours earlier. Some floated, some walked, some moved with mechanical aid. Their clothing showed status and culture: long robes, metal bands, glowing symbols, or simple uniforms. Quiet machines hovered near them, translating speech and recording every word. Voices filled the air. Many spoke proudly. They talked about new technology, long histories, strong fleets, and ancient wisdom. Each species wanted to be seen as important. This was the way of the Council. Power was shown not only through action, but through words. Among them stood Kale. Kale was tall and thin, with smooth dark skin that reflected the hall's light. His eyes were narrow and bright, always watching, always judging. He wore layered garments marked with symbols of rank and achievement. He had earned his place through skill and sharp speech. Other delegates listened when he spoke, even if they did not always agree. Kale enjoyed that. He believed intelligence was the highest strength. Those who spoke clearly, argued strongly, and showed no doubt deserved to lead. Those who hesitated deserved to follow. He looked around the hall with quiet confidence. Then the human arrived. Aaron entered through one of the side doors, walking calmly, carrying only a small data case. He wore a simple dark uniform with no bright markings. His face showed no excitement, no fear. He moved like someone used to waiting. Kale glanced at him for only a moment. Human. No. Soft. Kale turned away almost at once. To Kale, humans were still learning their place. They had only recently joined galactic talks. They asked too many questions. They showed emotion too easily. They lacked patience. They lacked refinement. Kale dismissed Aaron without thought. Aaron took his assigned position near the outer ring of the chamber. It was not a place of honor, but it allowed a clear view of everyone. Aaron did not mind. He stood with his hands loosely at his sides, eyes calm, taking in the room. He listened. One delegate spoke of trade strength. Another spoke of defense systems. Another spoke of cultural importance. The council moderator allowed them to continue. This was normal. The first sessions were always like this. A show of presence. A reminder of rank. Kale waited for his turn. When it came, he stepped forward smoothly. My people, Kale said, his voice steady and sharp, have managed shared systems for longer than most species here have known space travel. We understand balance. We understand control. Any future plans must be guided by experience, not emotion. Several delegates nodded. Kale continued. Some newer members may feel eager to shape the galaxy. But eagerness is not wisdom. His eyes flicked briefly toward Aaron. Aaron did not react. Kale felt a small sense of satisfaction. As the session went on, Aaron did not speak. He watched expressions, noted tone shifts, observed which delegates interrupted and which waited. He paid attention to what was said, and what was avoided. Kale noticed the silence and assumed it meant uncertainty. Humans rarely speak unless pushed, Kale thought. They lack confidence. He leaned toward a nearby delegate and spoke quietly. It seems the human has nothing to add. The other delegate gave a small sound of agreement. Aaron heard none of this. Even if he had, he would not have reacted. He had learned long ago that speaking too early often closed doors. As discussions continued, tension slowly built. Several proposals overlapped. Some conflicted. Voices rose. Pride pressed against pride. Still Aaron waited. Kale watched him again, curiosity beginning to mix with his dismissal. Why does he not defend his people? Kale wondered. Does he not care? The thought amused him. At one point, the moderator paused the session for rest. Delegates moved about the hall, speaking in small groups. Kale joined a cluster of experienced diplomats. They spoke about alliances and influence. One mentioned humans briefly. They are adaptable, the delegate said. Kale scoffed lightly. Adaptable, perhaps, but not decisive. Across the room, Aaron stood alone near the glass wall, looking out at the stars. His reflection stared back at him, quiet, still. He thought of Earth, of crowded cities and long debates, of lessons learned the hard way. Humans had survived not by being the strongest, but by planning for failure. Aaron adjusted his grip on the data case. When the session resumed, the tone sharpened. Real matters began to surface. Shared routes. Resource limits. Future authority. Kale spoke again, confident and clear. His arguments were well built. Many listened closely. Aaron still did not interrupt. To Kale this confirmed everything. By the end of the session Kale felt satisfied. The council had leaned toward his position. The human presence had made no impact. As delegates began to leave, Kale passed Aaron without slowing. He did not know that while he had been speaking loudly, the human had been learning quietly. And the council, though it did not yet realize it, was about to be surprised. The second session of the council began with more noise than the first. The early calm had faded, replaced by sharper voices and firm tones. Now the real debates had started. Everyone wanted something and no one wanted to give ground. Kale stood at the center platform more than anyone else. He spoke with confidence, his voice strong and clear as it carried across the hall. He presented plans that placed his people at the center of new trade routes, new research hubs, and shared systems. Each plan sounded fair at first. Each used careful words. But beneath them all was the same truth. Kale's people would gain the most. Our systems are proven, Kale said, gesturing toward a floating display. We already manage similar networks with great success. Expanding our role would reduce risk for everyone. Several delegates nodded. Some because they agreed. Others because it was easier than arguing. Kale continued, moving smoothly from one point to the next. He spoke often and without pause, answering questions before they were fully asked. He corrected others when they spoke, sometimes politely, sometimes not. Across the chamber, Aaron remained still. He stood in his place near the outer ring, hands relaxed, face calm. His eyes followed Kale, then shifted to the delegates listening. He watched who leaned forward and who leaned back. He noted who avoided eye contact and who watched Kale closely. He saw hesitation hidden behind polite nods. Aaron said nothing. A few delegates glanced at him now and then. Some frowned slightly. Others looked confused. "Does the human understand?" one whispered. "He hasn't spoken once," another replied. Aaron heard none of this clearly, but he sensed the mood. He knew how silence looked to those who expected noise. He had learned long ago that silence made people uncomfortable. They filled it with their own thoughts. He let them. As Kale pushed forward another proposal, Aaron focused on the details. He noted how the plan assumed perfect cooperation, how it relied on constant stability, how it offered no answer for failure. Kale spoke as if failure was impossible. Aaron knew better. The debate moved to shared security systems. Kale argued that his people's experience made them the best choice to oversee them. Emotion must not guide such systems, Kale said, casting a brief look toward Aaron. They require logic and discipline. A few delegates glanced at the human again. Aaron did not react. Inside his mind he broke the proposal apart piece by piece. He saw weak points. He saw where smaller worlds would lose control. He saw where one error could spread damage across many systems. He stored it all away. Another delegate tried to raise concerns. Kale answered quickly, speaking over them, using long explanations that sounded complete but avoided the core issue. The delegate fell silent. Aaron noticed who gave up. Time passed. The lights in the hall shifted slowly to mark the cycle. Voices grew tired, but Kale's energy did not fade. He enjoyed this. He believed endurance proved strength. Aaron remained quiet. To some, it looked like confusion. To others, fear. To Kale, it looked like confirmation. He began to speak more sharply when referring to newer members of the council. He did not name Aaron directly, but the meaning was clear. Some species are still learning how these systems work, Kale said. It would be unwise to place responsibility on those without long experience. Aaron felt several eyes turn toward him. He met none of them. During a short break, a delegate named Owen approached Aaron. Owen was human but from a different group, newer and less experienced. "Why aren't you saying anything?" Owen asked quietly. "They think you don't understand." Aaron looked at him calmly. "Let them," he said. Owen frowned. "But Kale is controlling the room." Aaron nodded. "For now." Before Owen could ask more, the break ended. The debate resumed. Kale presented a final summary of his position, confident that momentum was on his side. He spoke of efficiency, order, and leadership. He spoke as if the outcome was already decided. Aaron listened to the last word. When Kale finished, the hall fell quiet for a moment. The moderator looked around, waiting. "Does any delegate wish to respond?" the moderator asked. Several delegates shifted. Some opened their mouths, then closed them. Kale stood tall, certain no challenge would come. Aaron did not move. The silence stretched. Kale felt a flicker of annoyance. He wanted agreement, not quiet. The human remained silent, he thought. As expected. Finally, the moderator nodded and moved on. The session ended with no final decision, only agreement to review proposals later. Cale was satisfied. He believed the direction was set. As the hall slowly emptied, Cale spoke with others, confident and relaxed. He laughed softly at one point, enjoying his success. Across the room, Aaron gathered his things. His face showed no emotion, but his mind was active. He had seen enough. He had watched arrogance blind a skilled diplomat. He had watched fear silence others. He had learned where pressure would break plans apart. As Aaron left the hall, one delegate watched him go and frowned. "He is quiet," the delegate said to a companion. "Yes," the companion replied. "Too quiet." Aaron walked down the long corridor alone. His steps were steady. His silence had done its work. The council did not yet know it, but the balance of the debate had already begun to shift. The third session of the council opened with tension already in the air. The earlier confidence had faded, replaced by unease. Data displays hovered above the central floor, filled with maps of trade routes, numbers and moving lines that showed the flow of goods across many systems. What had once looked simple now appeared fragile. The dispute began quietly. One delegate raised a concern about a shared trade route passing through several smaller worlds. According to Cale's proposal, control of that route would be centralized under his people's systems. "At first glance, this looks efficient," the delegate said. "But what happens if one control node fails?" Cale answered quickly. "Our systems do not fail," he said. "They are tested and strong." Another delegate shifted in place. "All systems fail eventually," they said. "Even strong ones." A ripple of murmurs passed through the hall. Cale's expression tightened slightly. "Redundant backups will cover any delay," he replied. Aaron listened. The moderator allowed the discussion to continue. More delegates spoke now, no longer fully convinced. Questions piled up. What if a relay was damaged? What if political disputes blocked access? What if smaller worlds lost their ability to move goods freely? Cale responded to each point, but his answers grew longer and less clear. He repeated phrases. He avoided specifics. His plan depended on everything working as intended. Aaron saw the weakness clearly. Trade routes were lifelines. If one failed, the damage would spread quickly. Smaller worlds did not have reserves. Delays meant shortages. Shortages meant unrest. The data screens updated as simulations ran. Red warning markers appeared along certain paths. A delegate pointed at the display. "This route supports 12 minor systems," she said. "If control is delayed, they suffer first." Cale frowned. "Temporary strain is unavoidable in progress," he said. The room grew quiet. Aaron felt the shift. This was the moment he had been waiting for. The moderator looked around. "We need clarity," they said. "This council cannot move forward without a stable solution." Silence followed. Cale stood ready to speak again, but before he could, Aaron stepped forward. For the first time since the council had begun, the human spoke. "May I?" Aaron asked calmly. The sound of his voice surprised the room. It was steady, clear, and unforced. The moderator nodded. "You may." Cale turned slowly, disbelief crossing his face. Aaron moved to the central platform. He did not rush. He placed his data case down and activated a simple display. No bright symbols. No heavy language. Just clear lines and basic numbers. "I have been listening," Aaron said. "This dispute is not about control. It is about trust and failure." Some delegates leaned forward. Aaron continued. "All systems fail. Not because they are weak, but because change is constant. Plans must expect this." He adjusted the display. The trade routes shifted. New lines appeared, branching instead of merging. Instead of one central controller, Aaron said, "We spread responsibility. Each region manages its section, but shares access rules. No single failure stops the whole system." Cale opened his mouth to object, but the moderator raised a hand. Aaron spoke on. "Smaller worlds keep control of local routes. Larger systems support them, not replace them. When one path slows, others adjust." The display showed the simulations again. This time, warning markers faded. Flow continued, slower in places but stable. A quiet spread through the hall. "This reduces risk," Aaron said. "It is not perfect, but it survives mistakes." One delegate asked, "What about efficiency?" Aaron nodded. "It is slightly less efficient in ideal conditions, but far more efficient when things go wrong." Another delegate spoke. "And authority?" "Shared," Aaron replied. Clear rules. No single voice decides alone. Kale stepped forward now, his tone sharp. This weakens leadership, he said. It slows progress. Aaron looked at him calmly. It protects people, he said. The words landed heavily. Delegates began speaking among themselves. Not arguing but comparing. Testing Aaron's idea against their fears. The moderator reviewed the data. The human proposal shows lower loss in failure scenarios, they said. Kale's confidence cracked. You assume constant error, he said. That is a poor foundation. Aaron met his gaze. Humans assume error because we have survived it, he said. No anger. No pride. Just truth. The council fell silent again, but this time it was different. It was thoughtful. One by one, delegates nodded. We cannot risk collapse, one said. Balance matters, another added. Kale stood still, realizing the room had shifted away from him. The moderator spoke. This proposal will be reviewed as the primary model. Aaron stepped back. He returned to his place near the outer ring. He did not smile. He did not seek attention. He simply waited. Kale remained at the center, stunned. The human had spoken only once, and everything had changed. The hall grew quiet in a way that felt heavy, like the air itself was waiting. The large displays above the council floor shifted slowly as Aaron's data continued to run. Lines moved. Numbers adjusted. Simulations played again and again, each showing the same result. The system did not break. It bent, slowed, adapted, and continued. No alarms flashed. No red warnings spread across the routes. The council members watched in silence. Some leaned forward in their seats. Others stood still, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the display. A few whispered to their neighbors, but even those voices were low and careful now. The loud confidence that had filled the hall earlier was gone. Aaron stood quietly at his place near the outer ring. He did not speak. He did not explain further. He knew the data could speak for itself. Kale stood near the center platform, his posture stiff. His eyes moved across the display, searching for failure. He expected to find a weakness, a flaw that could be exposed with the right words. But each time the simulation reset, the outcome remained steady. The system held. A delegate from a small trade world spoke first. Her voice was careful but clear. In this model, she said, pointing at the display, our routes remain open even if a major hub slows. We would not be cut off. Another delegate nodded. The shared rules prevent blockage without forcing control. A third added, it allows growth without collapse. Kale listened, his jaw tightening. He had built his argument on strength and control. He had believed that order came from central authority. He had dismissed the idea that planning for failure was necessary. To him, expecting problems meant accepting weakness. But the data did not agree with him. The moderator stepped forward, reviewing the final results. The human proposal shows lower loss across all failure scenarios, they said. It protects smaller systems while maintaining shared access. The moderator paused. It is careful. That single word carried weight. Careful plans had kept worlds alive. Careless ones had ended them. Support began to shift. Delegates who had nodded along with Kale earlier now spoke in favor of Aaron's model. Not loudly, not proudly, but firmly. We cannot ignore this, one said. It answers questions we avoided, another admitted. Even those who still favored Kale's people's leadership could not deny the strength of the design. Kale felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. For the first time since entering the council hall, he realized he had misjudged the human completely. He had mistaken silence for lack of thought. He had mistaken calm for weakness. He had mistaken patience for fear. Kale looked toward Aaron. The human stood with a relaxed posture, eyes steady, showing no sign of victory or pride. He did not watch the council with hunger. He watched it with responsibility. That unsettled Kale more than any loud challenge could have. Kale stepped forward, his voice slower than before. This model, he said, choosing his words carefully, relies heavily on cooperation. Aaron turned his head slightly. Yes, he replied. And trust, Kale added. Yes, Aaron said again. Kale paused. In another time he would have argued that trust was fragile, that it could not replace control. But the data still hovered above them, unchanged. Humans trust systems that admit failure, Kale said quietly. Aaron nodded. Because failure happens whether we admit it or not. A ripple of agreement moved through the chamber. The arrogance that had once filled the space had nowhere to stand now. It drained away, replaced by something calmer. Respect did not arrive with applause or cheers. It arrived with attention. Delegates began addressing Aaron directly, asking questions not to challenge him but to understand. How would disputes be handled? What happens when growth changes demand? How are shared rules enforced? Aaron answered each one simply. He did not promise perfection. He spoke of adjustments, reviews, and shared responsibility. His words did not impress through confidence alone. They impressed because they accepted reality. Cale listened. Each answer cut deeper into his earlier assumptions. He had believed leadership meant certainty. He now saw that true leadership made room for uncertainty. When the moderator finally spoke again, their tone was firm. The council recognizes the human proposal as the strongest current framework. It will move forward as the primary plan. The words echoed through the hall. Cale felt the shift fully now. The room no longer centered on him. The attention had moved not because Aaron demanded it but because he earned it. Cale lowered his head slightly. It was not a gesture of defeat, but of understanding. He had underestimated the human. Not because Aaron was weak, but because Aaron was careful. As the session came to a close, delegates began to leave in quiet groups, discussing adjustments and future talks. Aaron gathered his data case, preparing to leave as he always did, without ceremony. Cale watched him for a moment longer, then spoke. Human. Aaron stopped and turned. You planned for problems before they happened, Cale said. Yes, Aaron replied. Cale exhaled slowly. That is wise. Aaron nodded once. Thank you. There was no tension in the exchange. Only acknowledgement. As Aaron walked out of the hall, the council remained behind, changed in ways they did not yet fully understand. Power had shifted not through force or pride but through foresight. And the lesson stayed with them. Strength was not found in arrogance. It was found in care. The final session of the council moved slower than the ones before it. The energy in the hall had changed. The loud voices were gone. The sharp tones had softened. Delegates now spoke with care, choosing words instead of throwing them. The great hall of light and glass felt calmer, almost thoughtful. Aaron sat in his usual place near the outer ring. He did not stand at the center. He did not look around for approval. He simply listened as he always had. The moderator called the session to order. We have reviewed the data, they said. We have tested the models. We have heard from many voices. The displays above the floor showed the final version of the trade and cooperation plan. It was based on Aaron's proposal, with small changes added by others. The core remained the same. Shared responsibility. Local control. Plans that expected mistakes instead of denying them. A delegate from a long-established world spoke. This approach reduces risk for all, they said. It does not favor one group over another. Another delegate added, it allows growth without fear. One by one, council members gave their agreement. Some spoke with confidence. Others with relief. A few with quiet humility. Cale stood among them, listening. He no longer spoke first. He no longer pushed his voice over others. He watched the discussion with new eyes. The shift in the room was clear. Authority was no longer tied to who spoke the loudest. When the time came for a formal decision, the moderator raised a hand. The council recognizes humanity as a key voice in future decisions involving shared systems and trade, they announced. Their approach has shown foresight, balance, and care. A soft wave of sound moved through the hall. Not applause but acknowledgement. Some delegates turned toward Aaron. He did not stand. He did not smile. He simply nodded once. Then he returned his attention to the council floor as if nothing had changed. Cale noticed this. If Aaron had celebrated, if he had spoken proudly or claimed victory, it would have been easier to dismiss him later. But he did not. He accepted the decision as a responsibility, not a reward. That stayed with Cale. As the session continued, practical matters were discussed. Timelines. Review cycles. Shared oversight groups. Humans were now included in every major planning team. Their role was clear but not dominant. Balance was the goal. Aaron spoke only when asked. His answers remained simple. He never promised certainty. He spoke of testing, adjustment, and listening. More than one delegate took note of that. When the final matters were settled, the moderator closed the session. This council is adjourned, they said. Delegates began to leave the hall. Conversations formed in small clusters. Some spoke about trade. Others spoke about the human approach. They do not boast, one delegate said. No, another replied. They prepare. Aaron gathered his data case and stood. He moved toward the exit as he always had, calm and unhurried. Cale watched him from across the room. After a moment, Kale stepped away from his group and approached Aaron. Human, Kale said. Aaron stopped and turned. For much of this council, Kale said, choosing his words carefully, I believed power came from control and certainty. Aaron waited. I was wrong, Kale continued. You did not argue louder. You did not seek attention. Yet you changed the outcome. Aaron nodded slightly. Outcomes change when people are protected, he said. Kale studied him. You did not try to defeat me. No, Aaron replied. That was never the goal. Kale let out a slow breath. Then I have learned something important. Aaron inclined his head once, respectful but distant. They parted without further words. Aaron walked through the long corridor that led away from the council hall. The glass walls showed the stars, steady and distant. Ships moved slowly beyond them, carrying goods, people, and hope across space. He thought of Earth. He thought of how humans had learned, again and again, that survival did not belong to the strongest or the proudest, but to those who planned, adapted, and cared for one another. Behind him, the council hall remained filled with quiet discussion. The lesson would take time to fully settle, but it had been planted. Humans did not need to boast to be powerful. They only needed to be ready.